Let's go over Star Wars Episode 9 when it comes to the original director, Colin Trevorrow, and what he had to say for the very first time after his firing many months ago. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, the biggest thing of all that happened last summer was when we heard the big news of Colin Trevorrow getting fired by Disney, Lucasfilm, and being replaced by J.J. Abrams as director for Star Wars Episode 9. Now, Colin Trevorrow was also involved with the whole entire script. After his firing, they brought in Jack Thorne. They were trying to work things out, though they let him go as well, and it was a big mess when it came to Episode 9 until both JJ and Terrio were involved in this movie. I believe they finished the script right before, just a couple of months ago, actually. And looking at the final film in the sequel trilogy, which, by the way, they will begin filming this July. However, in an interview with Empire, this is what Colin Trevorrow had to say. This is the very first time he is speaking out about his original Episode 9 script and movie after his firing by Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, etc. So this is what Colin Trevorrow had to say about his story. He couldn't really tell us much at all about it. And he also goes on to tell us exactly what he thinks about Star Wars. So he states, "I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to affect the way that fans get to see these films," he said. "When we were kids, these movies came to us from far, far away. They were a gift, and the more we talk about how they are made, the more it reveals that they're just movies. But they're not just movies. They're more than that, beyond that. I got the opportunity to tell a story that is a celebration of everything I believe in. I got to tell it to George Lucas, and I got to tell it to Luke Skywalker. And those are experiences I will cherish for the rest of my life." Now that's what Colin Trevorrow had to say for the very first time about his original Episode 9 after the firing of, by Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Disney, and replaced him with J.J. Abrams and Terrio. Now, as you see in the beginning of this statement, he didn't want to talk about it too much. My guess would be is that, well, I don't think it's a matter of that he can't or won't talk about it or doesn't want to. I think it's a matter that he's not allowed to talk about it. I don't believe he's allowed to essentially reveal plot elements of Star Wars Episode 9 because a lot of those plot elements may very well be intact within J.J. Abrams and Terrio's script and the final version of that movie. But looking at Colin Trevorrow, guys, we do know that he was going to do something very special with both Luke Skywalker and Leia before Carrie Fisher's passing. Even after Carrie's passing, he was still going to do something very special for the fans with the character of Luke Skywalker. We even heard that he wanted Luke to live in the original Last Jedi script and wanted Snoke to have a backstory. Now, this is, of course, all creative differences, and this, I think, led Kathleen Kennedy let him go. But looking at Colin Trevorrow, yes, many people would say that Jurassic World, the first one, wasn't all that great, and I will agree, I did not enjoy that film too much, but I will say in my experience of watching a lot of movies out there and what directors have done and what writers have done with their films, I've seen really bad movies by the same director and writer, and then a year or two later, maybe even 3 years after, you'll see that they make an amazing film. So I can't necessarily, just judge that his script of Episode 9 was going to be terrible. But looking at, the history of Colin Trevorrow, some of his movies, weren't that great at both the box office and, of course, the feedback that it got. But one thing I will say about Episode 9 is that I feel that Colin Trevorrow was being very much true to the character of Luke Skywalker. He was trying to treat him right, and I'm not quite sure what JJ is going to do. Like I say, we haven't been hearing much at all about Mark Hamill's involvement. Mark Hamill's been dropping hints here and there. In fact, there's a lot of, leaks that we have been going over, from the big plot leak a couple of weeks ago, suggesting that there was, concept art pieces, including Luke Skywalker, with a shadowy figure next to him, like a black shaded figure. So I think that obviously Luke will return. I don't think it's going to be a significant piece. I think it's going to be, obviously, A, a Force ghost, or B, a flashback sequence, and maybe even C, a vision in front of Kylo Ren or Rey, or maybe another Force user for all we know. But Colin Trevorrow's original Episode 9, I really am starting to wonder exactly how different it's going to be in comparison to J.J. Abrams' version of the movie. We do know that when Daisy Ridley was reading the script by Trevorrow's, toward the end, she was crying about her character, Rey. And I think that tells me that either A, her character dies and they want to do something big and bold with one of the main characters, and unlike Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy who lives, maybe in this trilogy Rey will die, at least in Colin Trevorrow's movie. If not that, maybe, the relationship between both Kylo and Rey, grew, and Kylo Ren sacrifices himself for Rey. Quite possible. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.